Well, Dr. Bill, I had the privilege of being in the Walmart experience the other day because I had to go to the pharmacy, and before I left the house, my sister told me we need a few things. You know, your mom needs some whole multi-grain bread, and you know, pick up some ice cream, since the ice cream there is like $1.99 or whatever. They have good ice cream there. All right. So I pick up a few things aside from the prescription, and lo and behold, I see a lot of cashiers there, which was surprising because you know how American companies are. They like to downsize their workforce, even though they brag so much about customer service, which is bullshit. And I noticed the lines were like long, like motor vehicles, and they weren't moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that the cashiers were actually moving slower than my tortoise when I used to have a pet tortoise. That was Chester, the tortoise. Chester was faster than these cashiers. So I started chatting with somebody online, and it's a good thing I got out of there before the ice cream turned into a big rectangular milkshake. And we came to the conclusion that, you know, these people are much slower than a regular supermarket that has union employees because they get paid shit. Walmart pays the people crap, and the Walmart employees in Lodi, New Jersey told me on their own, they volunteered to my face that this company sucks and this company pays crap. So that's the reason why they were extra slow, and you know, that's the Walmart experience. So don't go by the commercials with the person has the big grin on their face, you know, and I owes everything to Walmart, and I loves Walmart, and my family loves it, and we're so happy they build a Walmart in our region. Don't believe it. You know, you want people to be dedicated to their job, to do a good job, to have enthusiasm for their job. Well, compensate them adequately.
Like Costco?
Well, it was in the news that let's see, Red Lobster and the Olive Garden treats their employees like shit, like crap. You know, maybe it's part of the same corporation. Also, you know, if you're poor or low income, I hope you don't live in a state with a Republican governor, because you're going to be in bad shape if you're in a state with a Republican governor. Here in New Jersey, the bloated, gluttonous, mean-spirited, stingy Crisco Christie, he has it set up where the poor that, you know, can't find a job, gee, I wonder why, if they go on social services, on welfare, they have to go through this ridiculous 4-week, 1 day per week, 4-week assessment orientation crap at the workforce office at unemployment. In order to qualify for welfare, you have to be you have to find a job on your own and work at least like 30 hours a week. Well, then again, it's like, it kind of like goes against the reason why you're applying for welfare if you're working 30 hours. Or you have to go through this assessment. So there's always a catch with the Republicans. It's they always try to discourage the needy from applying for any social services, like with the Ticket to Work and Self-Sufficiency program, which is bullshit. And they tell the people collecting Social Security disability that you're allowed to work part-time, You do not have to worry about losing your benefits. It's bullshit, because they kick you off. You get a letter saying you have to come in and speak to the caseworker and re-evaluate your case. It's all a trick.
They have no problems telling the big companies to come get their subsidies.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to get Medicaid, you have to be 65 years of age or older to get Medicaid. If you're a poor sucker in this country, you cannot apply for Medicaid unless you're 65, or probably if you have dependent children to support. Maybe they'll be so kind to let you have a Medicaid card, which doctors don't accept because Medicaid doesn't pay them nearly what they're worth.
There was a case in France, just recently, where these people or person, whoever brought the case, he was sick.
Right.
So he took sick leave. But then the sick leave ran into his vacation time.
Okay.
So he sued the company, said, no, my sick time is my sick time, my vacation time is my vacation time.
Right.
And in France, of course, vacation time is 5 weeks, not 2 weeks, like Americans. Anyway, he won his case, or they won their case.
Right.
Sick time is sick time, vacation time is vacation time,
yeah.
And neither the two twain shall meet.
Neither will the twain shall meet. Now, when
that would not happen in America.
When I had a union job, we had paid sick days, we had vacation days that accumulate and grow as the longer you work at the company, your seniority, based on your seniority, just like your pay raises. And we had what they call personal days, personal holidays, where you are allowed to take a day off. Let's say you have a wedding to go to. You were in the ceremony of a wedding. A relative is getting married. You would request to take a personal day, and you would get paid for it. These days that you just mentioned are separate. They're separate. But
yeah,
of course,
my point in bringing that up is that would not occur in America. Okay?
Right.
Because of Republicans.
Well, if it was up
because they call Europeans lazy, and they got all of this vacation time and etc.
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me that
in America they like to work the guy to death?
You mean to tell me that the arrogant, self-righteous, smug American Republican politicians had the nerve to criticize the European Union?
Especially France.
What the hell is that? Boy, there sure is a lot of yokels around. Anyway, yeah, I mean, what nerve to criticize a democracy that works fairly and it works and operates the way it's supposed to be, criticizing the European Union. I suppose if there were slaves over in Europe, then the Republicans in America wouldn't have anything to complain about.
No.
Well, all I have to say about Republicans is I gotta shoot straight from the hip and be honest. And I don't mean to sound blunt and crude, but I have to. Republicans are greedy, stingy, selfish, sleazy, dishonest, corrupt pieces of shit. And what was in the news, what was posted, was a quote from Abraham Lincoln that I don't believe Abraham Lincoln said, because Abraham Lincoln was closer to being a socialist than a Republican. Then, you know, he was more to the left than a moderate. From what John Starodumsky told me, Lincoln was not a right winger. And you know, this quote, which I think was a misquote, I think it was propaganda from the Tea Party assholes, was saying that that the poor should, and you know, all American citizens should fend for themselves and not expect any help. And you know, John, who is a big history and political buff, says that's something that Abraham Lincoln would not have said. You know, that's something that one of the assholes today, John Boehner and Newt Gingrich or Rush Limbaugh, or these pieces of human excrement, they would say that today, but not Lincoln. So beware of political quotes that are posted on the internet. They might not be the actual quote from the person themselves. And it was also in the news on TV that we have right now in America the least productive Congress and Senate in American history. They get over $165,000 a year, give or take, not counting perks. And they work like 50% of the time since they were sworn in. I think the Senate only worked 40% since they took office, the last, you know, election, and 40% of the time they work very part-time. And they also collectively passed the least amount of bills of any Congress and Senate in American history.
And had the most filibusters.
Yeah.
Against Obama stuff.
Absolutely. So this is what we have here. You know, I mean, talk about, you know, they like to call the American poor lazy. They like to call the little guy lazy, Republicans. But, you know, what about themselves? What about the sliver in their eye?
The sliver, the plank.
The plank in their eye.
They see the sliver in yours.
But not the plank.
Not the plank in their own.
In their own, which is from the Bible. Such hypocrites. Double standard. It's like they can sit on their ass and they could steal hard-earned middle-class tax dollars because the rich don't pay taxes.
And resources from our land, which we own in common.
Right.
You know, during the Bush years, trees and oil and everything, they weren't paying any royalties.
No.
You know, they got it all for free, but God forbid you give some food stamps to people.
Oh, gee.
Who may need it.
Heaven forbid you should give a few crumbs, like my grandfather used to say, to the poor who really need it. But it's okay to spend trillions on the bloated defense budget and give welfare to the rich in the form of Wall Street bailouts and subsidies. Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That siphons money up to the top. That's fine.
Yeah. That's why trickle-down economics was not meant to work, and why...
but it was meant for you doofuses to believe that smaller government and etc. will work.
No,
that's what's behind all of that stuff.
I guarantee you can trust government a lot more than you can trust big business. I mean, all these
big business has no allegiance to any nation whatsoever.
Yeah,
they are unpatriotic.
Well,
multinational.
Mitt Romney, the Mittster, he escaped Vietnam War draft by going to live in Europe. You know, yeah, he did that. I was reading about it, and
well, he could have probably got out for being a conscientious objector because he was a Mormon.
Yeah, but I guess also having the Swiss bank account or offshore mailbox and not paying any taxes, I suppose
is very patriotic.
To them, it's patriotic.
Yeah.
Yeah, to them, it's patriotic. And outsourcing jobs to mainland China is patriotic too, to a Republican, and also to and I want to thank Mr. Red Rooster for making up this clever name. Also, thanking the sellout, traitorous Blue Dog Demorats. Blue Dog Demorats for selling out their voters And they're all paid off. The two-party system is corrupt. Unfortunately, the U.S. media is also bought out and paid by the corporate elitists. That's why the independent candidates do not get FaceTime and do not get invited to the debates. So, you know, it's a totally corrupt, paid-off society. And yes, free market capitalism in America is the devil's economics, without a doubt. I want to thank Tom Mulvihill, the Beer Whisperer, for doing volume 10 with me last night for regional food and drink and honest craft beer reviews. It was an excellent show. Thank you, Tom, the Beer Whisperer. And I want to greet everyone in the groups, the Meal Ticket, Regional Food and Drink and Honest Craft Beer Reviews, Mr. John Starodomsky, Mr. Red Rooster, and everybody. Tom Mulvihill. I salute you with my weapons grade Blackthorn Shillelagh imported from Ireland. It helps me emphasize certain things. Much classier and much more historic than Judge Judy's gavel. And everything about the Republicans is just pure negative. I mean, the racial profiling, everything that they represent, gay bashing, treating women as second-class citizens. There's nothing positive about any of them.
But they still have their supporters.
Oh yeah, let's not forget the foolish middle-class lemmings, the T-publicans. The T-publicans that might never see a high income tax bracket, that constantly support the Republicans and vote for Republicans because they believe the nonsense, the religious nut zealot ideology, and they don't realize, because they never open up the Bible themselves, they don't realize that what the Republicans preach has nothing to do with the God of the Bible. So they believe the lies. The whole world is deceived, Revelation. That's why we call
12:9.
12:9, Revelation chapter 12, verse 9. The whole world is deceived. And these are lemmings that are will fall off the cliff into the sea of despair. You know, the foolish middle-class idiots that continue to vote Republican. But anyway, oh, excuse me, I didn't know we were on the air. It happens, this is Progressive Discussions. I am your host, James P. Madonna. I am with my co-host and mentor and founder of Newsletter Censored in 1977, the Reverend Dr. William J. EISENMAN. How are you, sir?
Fine.
Good. And it happens to be Saturday, June 23rd?
Didn't you say 22nd? No, 23rd.
Oh, okay. June 23rd, 2012.
Who the hell knows what day it is?
The heat wave is over.
Yeah.
For now.
For now.
We had a
mini heat wave.
A mini premature, early
ejaculation.
Heat wave. Yeah, premature ejaculation. The other day was 98 degrees. It was like an oven. You couldn't breathe the air. It was so hot. And there was humidity that day, right?
Yeah. Oh, oppressive.
Yeah, that was Friday. I believe Friday was 98.
Wednesday.
Well, Wednesday was in the 90s too. It was in the mid 90s, but we hit 98.
This Friday? Yesterday?
No, Thursday. I'm sorry.
Thursday. Wednesday and Thursday were the big days.
Wednesday, Thursday was in the upper 90s, and Thursday was 98, and then Friday was like 92.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now it's
80 something.
It's nice. It's summer. Hot fun in the summertime, like the song. What was that? Sly and the Family Stone? Who sang that?
You sound like that.
Hot fun in the summertime. And then that other song, These Are the Lazy, Hazy, Crazy Days of Summer. Something about popcorn, hot dogs, and beer.
Nat King Cole, wasn't it?
Huh?
Was that Nat King Cole?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Nat King Cole. Oh my God.
Lazy, hazy, crazy. That's an old song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the people that wrote songs about winter wonderlands and summer fun. These people probably are in air conditioning or in a comfortable
they're probably
house.
dead.
Well, they're dead by now. You mean the ones who wrote these songs? They didn't. They look. The ones that wrote songs about winter wonderland, all those goofy Christmas songs that you know, where they want to get you to spend money that you don't have.
Autry wrote Rudolph, you know.
Yeah, it was written for, I think, Macy's, for a department store. It was paid for. But you know, these people probably never had to dig their car out. You know, they had other people do it. You know, they probably never had to chop ice, because if you experience that, you don't sing no winter wonderland songs. Or if you're a poor slob sucker and you don't have air conditioning, you don't sing about, you know, hot fun in the summertime.
Yeah.
So anyway, first article. Hot fun in the summertime. Hot fun. Da 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 da. Remember that? That was a good song.
An anonymous tip led the borough's health inspector to the basement of a Central Avenue house Tuesday morning, where officials discovered about 20 chickens
I love chickens.
in the home's basement.
But they shouldn't be inside.
Detective Jonathan Miskerg said the borough's code prohibits the raising of chickens.
Well, you know what? The towns here in northeastern New Jersey, they suck. They discrimination against the chicken.
There were no crates in the room where the chickens were found, and there were chicken droppings in the area.
Of course. Chicken droppings are kind of wet and gloppy, too.
Richard Siniscalchi, who is in charge of the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office Animal Cruelty Task Force, said Tuesday afternoon that the agency only received the call on Tuesday and that the case was under investigation. He declined to comment further. The Health Department and the Bergen County Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals also were investigating the incident on Tuesday afternoon. The SPCA declined to comment and referred all questions to the prosecutor's office. Miskerg said it appeared that an individual at the Central Avenue address had been raising the chickens in the basement of the one-family house. As of Tuesday afternoon, no one had been charged in connection with the incident, and it was unclear where the chickens were to be taken.
I thought the home belonged to the owner. What business does anybody have to go in your basement and tell you can't have?
Well, somebody called the cats.
Okay. Now, if the chickens were in the yard, which would have been proper, and it should be the right of a homeowner, if he wants to lower his grocery bill and raise his own eggs, it should be your option. That shouldn't be illegal. But you know, it's funny. You know, you're a homeowner, and you have to get permission for everything.
Yeah, to paint your building.
Yeah, if you want your
If
stockade,
you want to paint your building pink, you can't do it.
if you want your stockade fence to be a little higher so you have more privacy, and the town says no, you can't have that. But then again, you have the so-called American dream to thank.
Freedom!
You're home. You're a homeowner. Yeah, right.
Freedom
You
to
are-
shop at Walmart.
So you own the building, but when you buy the building and the lot, the land, you really do not own the land.
No.
You're like leasing it, so to speak, right? Or
Yes, no one actually owns land except the government.
right.
As it can eminent domain it at any time, and no longer for good reasons.
So they could take away what you so rightfully
yes, it used
deserve.
to be. It used to be that the eminent domain, they would take away your place for some common good. But today, it might be just for one of their cronies. One of their cronies may own a business and he wants to build a hotel on your land. Today, with the fracking, you know, you don't own the mineral rights to your land. You better make sure that your mortgage, your deed, states that you own the mineral rights, because they could put up a nice little big old oil derrick right there on your property line.
Talk about,
and get the minerals under your land.
Talk about an eyesore. Yeah, so it sounds very corrupt to me, Dr. Bill.
Everything is for the big guy. What do you call it?
It's like a throwback to the feudalistic days of imperialism.
Or the kings.
No wonder other countries that are farther to the left call us imperialist pigs and other names. You know, but people don't. If you're not an independent free thinker, you would think that you would believe that propaganda that these people are bad and evil. But these people are right.
Someone said the other day
the
truth. Someone said the truth the other day, that America is not number one in certain things, which was the truth.
Of course, it's the truth.
And he got all kinds of hell from people. Don't you ever say anything bad about the United States of America. We're the best.
Why?
Number one.
Why?
We're number one. We're number one.
Because they say so.
Well,
because
they
they
have
say
to say so. That's their belief.
And colonizing other countries for their oil, stealing other countries' oil from them. I guess that's okay with these red state redneck
hey,
hicks,
come on.
Right?
They're only savages.
Other people. Yeah. They call them camel jockeys.
They're savages. You know?
Yeah, there's
like
everybody's
a
a
red
savage.
Man. The red man was only a savage.
Yeah.
So
well,
he took his land.
To the Spaniard conquistadors and to the European colonists back then, everybody that did not look like them or live like the Europeans were considered savages and backward. Meanwhile, the Incas were doing precision brain surgery with instruments that were like today's scalpels, you know, and they were doing precision surgery. And Chinese has got an 8,000-year-old civilization, but you know, they were prejudiced against them.
Yeah,
calling them yellow people. You know?
Cheyenne Richards saw Jesus in her bathroom.
Was she a charismatic, right-wing fundamentalist, zealot, holy roller nut?
A few days ago, Richards, who lives near Houston, Texas, told a local TV news station she saw the image of Christ in a splotch of green mold on the wall above her tub.
I think the toxic vapors from the mold got into her brain and she started having these hallucinations.
Maybe she just needed to clean her bathroom.
That's what she needed to do. Maybe she saw an image of Jesus telling her, you know, you're living in a pigsty, lady. You better start cleaning where you live, your home. I mean, you could look at a cloud and think it looks like anything.
Well, first of all, what she thinks Jesus looked like was not what Jesus looked like.
Why would the Son of God, or what a lot of people say is God himself, why would he show himself in a disgusting, a filthy overgrowth of mold in some lady in Texas bathroom? Why would somebody so great and almighty show himself, lower himself, and, you know, to be seen in mold? That's kind of like a big insult to God.
Well, he wouldn't do that, number one, because he said he will come again. But not to this lady, and not at this time. It's not now.
And not in the image of the Israelite that was Jesus when he first arrived on earth. When he comes back for the second time, he's going to look like
he looks today.
Like he actually looks. Right?
Yeah, Revelation 1, read it.
Yeah.
Not that there is anything unique about what she saw. To the contrary, the Son of God seems to pop up in some very odd places. A woman in Port St. Lucie, Florida, saw him in a cell phone picture of her TV screen.
I think it was the Florida heat getting to her.
A woman in Claremont, Florida, saw him in a power meter. A Tampa Bay area man saw him in a bathroom door.
You hear this?
In Sullivan's Island, South Carolina, a woman saw him on the back of a dead stingray.
Oh man, this is unbelievable. This is funny.
In McLean, Virginia, a family saw him in a tree in their front yard.
Why, he had trouble getting down? They needed to call the fire department?
A couple in Anderson County, South Carolina, saw him on a Walmart receipt.
Oh man, talk about humiliation of the Lord. A Walmart receipt. Remember the kudzu?
Yeah.
The kudzu, the growth in North or South Carolina. They saw Jesus in a bunch of moss.
Yeah. The reader will doubtless note that these manifestations seem to concentrate in the South, the Bible Belt.
You notice that, don't you?
They are not exclusive to that region, but presumably when people in relatively irreligious Philadelphia or Seattle see what appears to be a face on a banana peel,
oh gosh,
they are more apt to shrug it off. When I was a boy in Los Angeles, people said they saw the image of a pillar of salt, Genesis 19:26, in the beveled window of a church 2 doors down from my house. That, of course, is the reference to Lot's wife, who was turned to a pillar of salt when she disobeyed, looking back at the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah.
She was asked not to look back.
That's correct.
Just like Adam and Eve was told not to eat fruit from the tree of life.
No, from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil.
Okay.
For days, we had news crews, traffic jams, and lines of people crowding our street. I dutifully took my turn at the window, but all I saw was the sun glancing through the glass. That doesn't mean those people didn't see what they said they saw. It only means that I did not. Sometimes in faith, as in other aspects of life, one sees what one needs to see, and there's no shame in that. Whatever gets you through the night, it's all right, said John Lennon.
Whatever gets you through the night, it's all right, it's all right. That was John Lennon?
Correct.
Whatever gets you through the night.
Or, as Father Ray, the conflicted priest on the short-lived television series Nothing Sacred, once asked, which man is truly crazy? The one who hears thunder and thinks it is the voice of God, or the one who hears the voice of God and thinks it's only thunder? In a world that is often angry, hateful, and confused, these sightings seem to reflect a need among people of faith to be affirmed by God.
Mm-hmm.
To see Jesus in a household appliance is perhaps to feel singled out, seen, reassured that there is indeed a plan and that things will be better by and by. This is a human need shared by the boy in Sunday school, the man on his knees facing Mecca, the mourners saying Kaddish. People of faith seek to be affirmed by God. But might not the world be a little less angry, hateful, and confused, a little less violent, if people of faith more often also sought ways in which God could be affirmed by us. If we gave the help we sought, after all, the Quran says, "Whoso saveth the life of one, it shall be as if he had saved all mankind." The Talmud says, "Whosoever saves one life, saves the world entire." And Jesus of Nazareth said, to turn the other cheek, to make peace with your brother, to bear insults and lies with gladness, to offer your coat to the person who demands your shirt, to take care of one another, to love one another. Cheyenne Richards thinks Jesus looks like an image in the mold of her bathroom wall. Maybe he does. Or maybe he looks like a hungry child having his first meal in 2 days. Maybe he looks like a sick and indigent woman being cared for by tender hands. Maybe he looks like someone passing the time of day with the old man no one ever visits. Maybe he looks like anonymous charity and activist love. It would be the easiest thing in the world to ridicule Richards, to make fun of all those people concentrated in the poorest, most rural part of our country, who see Jesus in their cheese sandwiches and tire treads. But John Lennon was right, and Father Ray had a good point. Seeing is believing, but believing is also seeing, and sometimes there's no difference between the two.
Great article. Yeah, you know what amazes me, that the Record newspaper actually has articles this intelligent. But these are from people outside of the Record, right? These are people
They're hired by the Record.
Hired by the Record?
Well, they get paid by it. But this particular fellow won a Pulitzer Prize back in 2004.
Oh yeah, what's his name?
Leonard Pitts Jr.
Oh, okay.
And if it means anything, he's a black man.
Doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean anything. It's I'm glad you mentioned it. I mean, it's the guy's obviously, now we know why he won a Pulitzer Prize. Excellent article. Very articulate. Alright, what do we got before you take your lunch?
Has anyone noticed how gleeful the Republicans have been in response to lower job numbers and the prospect of another economic downturn?
Yeah.
The Republicans are rooting for economic failure, and thus for our country's failure.
Because they want Obama to not to be reelected. They want him to be a one-term president.
It's been said we should not bring up the past. I disagree. Bringing up the past is the only way we can fairly assess President Obama and the degree to which the Republican refusal to work with the president has contributed to current economic problems.
Well, sure, if people bring up G.W. Bush and Dick Cheney, they would say, stop bringing up the past, right?
Yeah.
Well,
at the very time of Obama's inauguration, Republicans were openly expressing hopes that he would fail. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who by the way looks like a turtle, speaking of tortoise.
He looks like a turtle?
Yes, he does. Mitch McConnell said, quote, "The single most important thing we want to achieve is for Barack Obama to be a one-term president."
There you go.
Unquote. Imagine the Republicans' #1 issue was to defeat this black man in their White House.
Their White House.
It wasn't jobs. It wasn't the economy. In their efforts to thwart Obama, the Republicans have rejected not only Obama's ideas, but their own. They repeatedly ask, where are the jobs? Couldn't we ask the same of them? But that's not their main goal. They don't want to create jobs. They want to drive Obama from office.
Well, who allows American companies to outsource jobs? Obama doesn't have the last word on everything. He has to get everything approved by the Republican Congress, doesn't he?
Yeah, they make the laws.
Right. There's not enough.
He only signs them.
There's not enough Democratic votes to filibuster, right? To override, rather.
There's no Democratic voice to override a filibuster. That's why the filibuster has been used more times in his presidency than ever.
Yeah. Obama. How could Obama create jobs if all these deregulated companies in the United States are outsourcing? And gee, I'm going to take a wild guess and say the outsourced product, when it returns to United States, is not tariffed.
No, and
heavily.
I just read something today about a solar company in America that is going to go bankrupt now because they cannot compete with China, who makes the solar panels and cells and all this shit cheaper.
So even the green movement, you know, they talk about get on board with the green movement. That's the future of American jobs, the green movement. Yeah,
but not if you're allowing all this cheap crap coming in from China.
Guess what, jabronis? The green movement that all you brilliant people out there on the internet say that, you know, we have to all get retrained for green jobs. It's all in China. Well, with the rest of all the other jobs. You know, they're like the 32 cents an hour poor Chinese people that work in Foxconn to assemble your smart cell phones and your laptops and whatever. So on and so on. Made in China.
Yeah, well. Then, like I said in the new article, people just don't get the idea that the jobs that are gone are gone. They're not coming back. So if you want to create a new economy, you certainly have to create new jobs through new industries, etc. But you're not going to do that if you have to compete with China.
So my message to you Republicans out there, American companies are no longer the job creators in the United States. They are the job creators in mainland China.
And free trade must become fair trade. You know?
And reverse Glass-Steagall. Bring, you know...
actually, what they should do is they should bring back an even stronger law. Now that we have the opportunity and the history behind us, it is the time to regulate even stronger.
I think there should be an amendment that states...
It won't happen.
That companies cannot be deregulated ever again, and that no one has the right to tamper with the original United States Constitution. You know, like the end of the book of Revelation in the Bible, you know, it forbids people to add anything to this book or take away anything from this book.
Well, that doesn't stop people like Joel Osteen and Reverend Ike and all the other ones. that preached contradictions to the Bible.
Well, Ike is
it
too.
doesn't stop them.
Reverend Ike is not in the limelight anymore. He's too old.
Whatever.
We're talking. Let's just stick to
An
people
example.
like Joel Osteen, right? Or
All the other prosperity preachers.
prosperity preachers, exactly. You know,
What God says does not deter people from doing what they want to do.
because you're gonna get conservatives like G.W. Bush says it's only a damn piece of paper. Everything's
That's the
just
Constitution. I'm talking about the Bible.
the Bible.
Yeah.
Well, you can't mix church and state because everybody.
You just said the Bible. You did. Revelation says
What I'm saying
not
is
to change anything in this book.
because it's
But
important.
they do.
Because the U.S. Constitution is extremely important to the United States of America.
Yes, the United States Constitution is a secular document. It has nothing to do with church and state and the Bible.
Correct. Correct.
But the Bible is supposed to be adhered by preachers who claim to be Christian.
And are supposed to represent the Word of God.
Correct.
Meanwhile,
But they brought in their own traditions, and
meanwhile,
their own tenets,
right,
their own ideas and interpretation.
right. Meanwhile, there's nothing but misinterpretation by these pastors,
Correct.
and that's why
But obviously, a lot of people don't seem to know that.
and that's why so many people are confused. So many Christians
And
are
deceived.
confused.
Deceived.
What does the Bible say? God will bring great delusion in the end times.
Oh yeah.
God will bring
Well,
forth
because-
great delusion.
Because people just don't get it. They're too vain to get it. God is trying to save the whole world. Look at him. We have to go out and evangelize everyone to save their soul.
And minister to other people.
But that ain't what the Bible says. That ain't God's plan.
Why can't people don't people have enough to worry about saving their own soul, saving their own
Obviously
immortality?
not, because for some reason they believe in this idea that, you know, that came from the Catholic, what became the Roman Catholic Church, that we got to convert by any means.
Well, they're using
We need those souls.
they're using
within our church.
they're using religion as a tool of force, not for what God wants, but for their own selfish agendas. In the case of Republicans,
I guess
conservatives,
that's why the Roman Catholic Church is as big as it is.
greed.
Okay.
Well, seeking out money, which is idolatry, the love of money, seeking out money to get power, or is it that they want power to get money, or is power the end
They
result?
go together.
They go together.
Oh yeah.
Power and money. The devil's economics. Free market American capitalism. Controlled by conservatives. And, well, you know, I have to say that I noticed that so many more Americans are aware of the elitists, the 1%, the fat cats, even secret societies controlling our so-called public servants in Washington. So many more Americans are aware of this fact than ever before since Jesse Ventura's conspiracy theory show. It has opened. Alex Jones and Jesse Ventura have put the elitist secret society New World Order theory
Front page,
which I'll have to salute Jesse the body, or Jesse the Governor Ventura, and Mr. Alex Jones of InfoWars for bringing these deep-seated truths to front page. All right.
But do the people know what to do? That's the problem. They may be so...
they don't get involved. Maybe if everybody learns that they have the right to write in a candidate, like the American media, they won't give FaceTime to the independent candidates, right?
No.
They won't invite the independent candidates to the debates, right?
No.
But if people knew they were allowed to write in a candidate, like let's say they wanted to write in Rocky Anderson, like Gary No mentions, or
Dr. Bill,
William J. Eisenman, PhD, who's running for a third time as a progressive independent. If they knew they can write in a candidate, there's the power.
But how would that candidate advertise to them? There's another problem.
They would have to have a website, like you do.
Yes, website, but
Newslettercensor.com.
as my website says, do not send any money, but tell 10 people about this website.
So you're getting.
How else are you going to get to
so
people?
you're getting the word out, the message out, maximizing that fact.
But,
and Americans have to also realize the power of boycotting, the great, tremendous power of boycotting. Boycott the products made by the fat cat elitist 1% corporations. Boycott Monsanto. Boycott the American food industry. Boycott the products, the companies that these sleazy politicians are involved with.
right, then they'll get the message that demand creates jobs and wealth, not supply.
Hurt them where it hurts the most. In their wallets, in their bank accounts. You know, my wallets usually last for many years because maybe it's because of the moisture from being in my pocket up against my ass cheek.
I can't get rid of mine even though it's dead.
Well, I use mink oil on leather.
Yeah.
I use mink oil. All my leather possessions, my valuables that are leather, are all marinated in mink oil, including my
What the hell are
Western.
you going to do? Eat them? Marinated?
No, I want them to last forever so they don't crack. Even my Western hat, which is black leather, is full of mink oil. Anyway, we have to break. It is time for the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman's gastronomic delight known as lunch, followed by mega vitamin C with bioflavonoids, and then we will do promo and return. All right. Oh man, so you pretty much have all your supplements.
Got them all.
You got them all. You're well stocked.
Stocked up.
All right. Time for lunch. Well, Dr. Bill, last night I was experimenting with my own veggie burger recipe. What I did was...
And you blew up the house.
No. What I did was I made my recipe selections based on high nutritional density. I took a quarter of a cup of combination amaranth and quinoa because they both complement one another for certain reasons that I went into on another show. I used a quarter of a cup of the non-GMO texturized soy protein. I added a quarter of a cup of red lentils. I added a quarter of a cup of organic millet because millet is very sticky and it will help hold all the ingredients together when you form a patty. I added dehydrated minced onions, garlic powder, a teaspoon of imported hot curry, sea salt. I added some sea salt. Let's see. I guess that was. Oh, and I crumbled up some roasted teriyaki flavored nori, Japanese, sea vegetables, nori, for the super rich nutritional value of seaweed, sea vegetable. And I boiled it and let it cool down and put it in a container in a refrigerator. And it got very stiff and sticky. So I will attempt to see how it tastes. I mean, I'm sure it smelled really good. I could have put sesame oil or olive oil, but I figure I'm going to use that in the skillet to make the veggie burger anyway. And well, you know how it tastes, my own concoction. Usually I use the falafel mix with added soy protein, but I decided to experiment and see if I can make my very own homemade recipe for veggie burger. You know, I'm trying to refrain from eating so much red meat. I've cut down quite a bit, you know, especially the red meat raised in the U.S. cattle industry, you know, and not to mention the all the other livestock in the United States that's loaded with hormones and antibiotics, and, you know, and then the milk from the American dairy has traces of pus, which is dead white blood cells, right? Blood and other recombinant bovine growth hormone. Nice things, you know. And you ever notice this poor excuse for milk is it never really goes down much in price. It's almost like they price gouge you when it comes to dairy, just like they price gouge you when it comes to seafood.
And isn't it funny that milk?
Yeah, United States.
Milk?
Yeah.
Corn?
Yeah.
Peanuts are subsidized.
Oh, really?
The taxpayer subsidizes the farmers for those things.
Oh,
so why should they
really?
be
So why
pulling sugar too?
So why should they be high?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's completely corrupted. That's why. Wake up, people. Wake up, lemmings. The proof is in the pudding. If it looks like a duck and walks like a duck and sounds like a duck, it's a duck.
It's the Affleck duck.
Yeah, Affleck. Ducks are cute. Did I tell you I was at the park this year, and I was a female mallard duck came up to me like 2 feet away with the male in the background waiting for her, and she gently took pieces of corn tortilla chips out of my hand. Didn't even bite my finger, just gently tilted her head and gently took the chip from my fingers, and I fed her by hand. A wild mallard. Amazing. Amazing. They have to be smart to be able to do that. I mean, she just very carefully and slowly took the chip from my fingers and just stood there and waited for me to feed her again and again and again.
Yeah.
You know, so when they say birds have, you know, when they call somebody a bird brain, it's not totally accurate. Parrots are very intelligent, you know, so don't underestimate them. I mean, I had tropical fish that recognized me, and you know, they bond with you in their own way. You know, reptiles, they eventually bond with you. Anyway, let's do some promo. Man, the grass pollen count must be really high this June, you know, because we had such a mild winter. This gentleman next to me is a self-portrait of my co-host and mentor, the Reverend Dr. William J. EISENMAN. The Reverend Dr. William J. EISENMAN is a fine watercolor artist, and this is a portrait of himself. You can see the William J. EISENMAN collection by going to Google and just typing in William J. EISENMAN collection, and you will see almost maybe 99.9999% of everything he has done in a video slideshow to Caribbean steel drum music. If you see something you like, go to newslettercensor.com, send Dr. Bill an email, and if it's still available, you can acquire it with your gift to support this work, starting at $500. Make him a good offer. And he also paints in gouache, which is a material for painting. Watercolor and gouache. And when your last painting is done, it would be your third gouache painting, and that painting is finished or no?
If it ever gets done.
If it ever gets done, okay. It's you mean the girl? Yeah. It's actually, it improved quite a bit. You know, I mean
I've had to work on the newsletter.
Yeah, his ability to paint the human form, to paint people, faces, is outstanding. And I would have to say that the acquisition of the very pointy, very skinny paintbrush helped you a lot with the detail of the face and the hair, especially the hair. All right, now this is the foundation of our entire organization, founded in 1977 by William J. EISENMAN, PhD. It is censored. You're not going to find this type of newsletter in the mainstream media or the press. It's the kind of information that is revealed that most people are afraid to hear. Can you handle it? It contains the 5 taboos of American life, which is politics, religion, health, human sexuality, and child rearing. It contains so much more than our than our websites and our talk shows. It also contains The God Project by William J. EISENMAN, Doctor of Divinity. It contains Sexuality, a Holistic Approach by William J. EISENMAN, PhD, as well as censored the political analysis. And this is the very best way to join our organization. The very best way to be a part of our organization is to go to newslettercensored.com, click on the printable order form, and with your gift to support this work, get your free annual subscription to Newsletter Censored. You need Newsletter Censored. We are living in the end times. You need Newsletter Censored to learn how to defeat a conservative. And if you go to newslettercensored.com, check out Dr. Bill for President. Yes, he's running for a 3rd time as a progressive independent. He will show you how the only way to remove corruption from politics is to remove the money from politics. And he will also teach you, very important, how to write in a candidate. Yes, you can write in a candidate. And it does not have to be someone from the 2-party system, the corrupt, wicked, and evil 2-party system. It can be an independent progressive that you can write in, like Dr. Bill. Also, you go to Google and type in Censored or The God Project Archive Classics on demand. The Censored or The God Project on demand Archive Classics. You will never miss a show. You can hear the readings from Dr. Bill on either politics or religion. Okay, the real truth about the God of the Bible, not what right-wing fundamentalist, zealot, religious nuts tell you what's in the Bible, but what the Bible actually really says. And at the top of newslettercensored.com, you will see our link to the Mega Life 21 Hard-Hitting Truth Internet Talk radio station, and you will see the at the top you will see our airtime schedule for our shows. Today, Saturday, is Health Talk by yours truly, James P. Madonna. Tomorrow will be The God Project by Dr. Bill. Thursday and Friday is Newsletter Censored, The Real Truth. Okay, we run it for 2 days because it's so important. And let me make myself a little useful here. And I just want to show you a couple goodies. I know you've seen it before. Here is trickle-down Reaganomics. Shows Ronald Reagan, the man who shifted the tax burden from the rich to the middle class and the poor. Pissle-down economics, trickle-down economics was never meant to work. It does not work, and it shows Ronald Reagan peeing on the United States of America. T-publicans, middle class lemmings that vote Republican. This is the guy who shifted the tax burden from the rich to the middle class. All right, not the.
And they worship him.
And they worship him. Not has nothing. Not the Democrats have nothing to do with what's going on. Believe me. Here are the wages. I was talking about the House and the Senate. How, you know, Republicans want the mainstream masses, the little guy, to make sacrifices, like Chris Christie says. They want us to make sacrifices. But the governors, the congressmen and senators, they don't want to make sacrifices. The 1% does not want to make sacrifices. Okay, with all the money they make, it has to be us, right? Salary of retired U.S. presidents, $450,000 for life. Salary of House and Senate members, $174,000 for life. Salary of Speaker of the House, $223,500 for life. That's that John Boehner, that's always crying. Salary of a majority or minority leaders, $194,000 for life. That's not counting perks, right? Average salary of a soldier deployed in Afghanistan, $38,000 a year. Big deal. Average income for seniors on Social Security, annual, right? $12,000. I think we found where the cuts should be made.
Yeah.
There you go.
And in the military budget,
yeah,
bigger cuts that cannot be made.
You were saying that if the military budget was adequately trimmed, many of society's modern day you know, catastrophes, ills would be solved.
Yeah. You just take the money from there and put it to the stuff that we need, infrastructure and schools and the whole thing.
The veterans coming back from war, the homeless, the poor, you know,
foreclosures,
you know, the
restructuring of mortgages, a whole bunch of stuff, and the deficit would almost be gone.
Yeah, food pantries would never have to be closed by gluttonous pigs like Chris Christie. You know. Here's another one that's pretty good too. Between 2009 and 2011, 88% of national income growth went to corporate profits, while just 1% went to the wages. See?
That's just siphoning up.
This is a statistic that is historically unprecedented.
Siphoning up.
And it shows you the pie chart, all right, where the profits are going. And of course, the overrated...
And they complain they're overtaxed.
The overrated paper-pushing corporate CEOs, they suck up a lot of money.
Yeah, for doing nothing.
With the golden parachutes, right?
They suck up the money even when they fail, or bring their businesses to bankruptcy.
Isn't that similar to...
They still make out like bandits.
Isn't it similar to the Ponzi scheme? You make money. If you fail, you make money. If you succeed, you're always... It's like a shell game.
Well, it sounds to me like the American dream.
Three-card Monte? Well, the American dream is only for the rich.
Well, it seems that way.
All right.
If we categorize it like that.
Okay. All right, back to the articles. Oh. Your air conditioner is quite efficient.
Fewer than 1 in 10 poor adults in New Jersey are able to get a lawyer to represent them when they are threatened with eviction, foreclosure, or other serious legal problems.
Huh.
That means an estimated 400,000 people go without legal representation they need,
Right.
according to a new report by Legal Services of New Jersey. And the consequences can be catastrophic. The inability to afford a lawyer or to get legal help too often determines whether a family is evicted from an apartment, if a home is foreclosed, if an ailing man gets disability benefits, or even if a child custody payments are sufficient to feed and clothe the children of a broken home. Much of the problem is due to the devastating impact the economic downturn has had on the state. For starters, there are significantly more people living in poverty than were a few years ago. According to census data cited in the report, the state's poverty rate rose 18.4% between 2008 and 2010. At the same time, reductions in legal services funding, driven by a combination of economic factors, have forced the nonprofit law firm to cut its staff by nearly a third. The 6 legal services affiliates in New Jersey provide lawyers to represent indigent litigants in civil cases around the state. The largest share of the organization's budget comes from the interest on lawyers' trust accounts program.
Right.
Lawyers often control payments from their clients' real estate and other transactions in escrow accounts. And the interest paid by banks on those accounts goes into a fund used to support legal services for the poor.
Right.
You see that?
Mm-hmm.
But who is supposed to be supporting those services? It's part of the budget.
It's part of the budget, right?
The biggest driver of IOLTA funds is interest rates. Adding to those rates have been plummeting with the economy. And the amount of money in the lawyers' trust accounts is related to the number of real estate transactions, which are also depressed right now. The result? The IOLTA funding for legal services has fallen off a cliff. From $40 million in 2008 to less than $7 million this year. In 2008, the nonprofit received another $29.6 million directly from the state budget. By this year, that was down to $14.9 million.
Oh.
Governor Christie has proposed an increase in the fees plaintiffs pay to file cases in the state's courts, which would generate more than $50 million. $10.1 million of which would be added to the state's allocation for legal services. A similar bill proposed by Democrats has passed the Assembly, and the Senate Budget Committee is scheduled to take up that legislation, as well as one backed by Senate President Stephen Sweeney. All sides say they are confident A negotiated bill will make its way into the final budget, but that would still leave legal services funding at a fraction of what it was in 2008. The impact on impoverished litigants is stark. The number of legal services clients last year fell nearly 20% short of the number it served in 2009. Over the 12-month period from July 2010 through June 2011, 99% of the 171,546 defendants in the state's tenancy courts, mainly those facing eviction, were not represented by an attorney. For the same time period, 73% of the defendants in divorce matters had no lawyer. In non-divorce family court cases, 96% of defendants were not represented.
Mm-hmm.
More than 90% of defendants in foreclosure cases did not have an attorney. The report concludes that failing to address this situation will result in significant societal costs. The individual consequences of unrealized legal rights are devastating. Homelessness, broken families, loss of children to foster care, arrested development of youth, hunger, unchecked domestic violence, and unaddressed health problems. The cumulative, long-term societal and economic consequences are enormous. Among them, disruption of civil society through violence and crime, major expenses for remediation programs, and unrealized potential of successive generations of our children. The report urges that the state restore funding for indigent legal services, but it also calls for action to increase the number of lawyers at private firms who offer no-fee services to the poor. Simplify court rules and procedures to make the legal process more accessible for people without attorneys, and enhance the direct assistance courts provide litigants who are not represented.
Excellent article. What do we got here?
The Supreme Court on Thursday let 2 television networks off the hook for broadcasting fleeting expletives years ago, but avoided making any big decision about indecency and the First Amendment.
What took place?
There was cursing on television many years ago.
Yeah.
And the cases were pending. And now they came before the Supreme Court. And they were allowed to stand instead of fines being issued.
You mean based on the FCC's guidelines of the...
The FCC's guidelines in those particular cases were thrown out.
Okay.
In a long-awaited but narrow ruling, the court unanimously agreed that the Federal Communications Commission failed to give Fox, ABC sufficient warning before disciplining the networks for briefly airing racy content.
Mm-hmm.
The justices, though deliberatingly stopped short of tackling more far-reaching free speech questions, leaving to another day the First Amendment implications of the FCC's indecency policy.
Right.
It is unnecessary for the court
Excuse me.
to address the constitutionality of the current indecency policy, Justice Anthony Kennedy said. all 8 justices taking part in the case agreed that Fox and ABC should not face punishment from the FCC. Though Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg added that the court should take technological advancements into account and overturn a 1978 ruling governing broadcast indecency. During the December 2000 Billboard Music Awards, the singer Cher stated that people have been telling me I'm on the way out every year, right? So fuck them. A month later, U2 lead singer Bono uttered the phrase, fucking brilliant, during NBC's broadcast of the Golden Globes Awards.
I got news for you. Your average American child, minor, uses that word, you know, of course, when they're with their friends. So, you know, it's nothing new. I mean, hey, it doesn't hurt Cher's concerts. I'm sure she sells out, right?
During the December 2003 Billboard Awards show on Fox, reality show star Nicole Richie, have you ever tried to get cow shit out of a Prada purse? It's not so fucking simple.
So she said shit and fucking.
Yeah, two of the 7 words that you're not supposed to say.
The seven words.
Dirty words.
Dirty words, like
Yeah.
like George, the late great
Carlin.
George Carlin.
Yeah. The FCC found the programs indecent. The federal regulators also characterized as indecent a 2003 NYPD Blue episode in which a woman's nude buttocks were flashed on the screen for 7 seconds.
7?
Yeah.
Wow. That's on primetime TV. 7 seconds. That's a long time.
The FCC
Yikes.
imposed fines of $27,500 each on ABC-owned stations and affiliates.
Butox.
In 2010, the New York-based Second Circuit Court of Appeals struck down the FCC's actions on the grounds that the Commission's enforcement policy concerning indecency was too vague to provide meaningful guidance for broadcasters. Though the Obama administration inherited the enforcement actions from the Bush administration, Obama's Solicitor General Donald Verrilli, Jr. fully adopted his predecessor's hard-line position, declaring in one brief that millions of children in the audience were subjected to the swear words uttered on the Fox shows.
Like kids don't peek at porn on the internet. Give me a break.
The court's decision
So
leaves standing,
traumatized.
for now, a landmark and later criticized 1978 case centering on the late comedian George Carlin's use of the 7 filthy words. Some advocates, citing the vast expansion of the internet and unregulated satellite and cable TV since then, had urged the court to explicitly overrule the earlier decision that had been based on the notion of broadcasting being a uniquely pervasive medium.
In my opinion, the smartest comedian of all times, George Carlin.
Justice Sonia Sotomayor did not participate in the case because she had served on the appellate court that had handled the dispute.
Of course, Republicans were involved. I mean,
Republicans
conservative.
never recuse themselves either from a case that they have an interest in or a conflict of interest in.
Yeah. Republicans are very puritanical and moral, especially when Rush Limbaugh tried to procure young boys in Dominican Republic. You know, when he had that, when he was addicted to.
Is that not alleged? Is that alleged?
When he was.
Or is that a surefire thing?
Well, that kind of like got swept under the carpet rather quickly. And then, of course, he was addicted to prescription.
Well, that is not alleged.
Oxycontin, right?
That is true.
Prescription painkillers.
And he got away with it.
Swept under the carpet. That's right. Interesting. Very interesting.
The effort to present creationism as a scientific alternative to evolution in the form of a creation museum may be motivated by sincere religious devotion and by a desire to bolster the veracity of the Bible, especially in the eyes of young people. But at the end of the day, it is self-defeating. Our children and students will eventually be exposed to much more convincing scientific evidence for evolution, and to the fact, not the theory, that dinosaurs lived on Earth hundreds of millions of years ago. When that happens, they may very well come to view religion as medieval obscurantism and reject it entirely. Religion is about bettering ourselves and our society in the service of God. It does not and should not address purely scientific questions. Now, we wouldn't have this kind of nonsense, of course, if people actually read the Bible and saw what it said. Which, by the way, will be in this new issue of the newsletter in the God Project called The Bible. It will discuss this theory of humans and dinosaurs coexisting, and what the Bible actually says about the creation of the earth. I'm not going to tell people on this video because I want them to get the newsletter.
No, don't.
Do a little reading and what's the word I'm looking for here? Study. Homework.
Yes, you should always hold back on information that is contained in the new issue of Newsletter Censor that is almost ready to be flipped on the hot pancake griddle on the other side.
It will go to the printer tonight.
Oh, really?
It is finished.
Wow.
It has to be edited. Remember, there were 4 mistakes the last issue, because we do not have a copy editor any longer. And I have to do that job too.
Yeah, I could look it over.
So, when that is done, it will go to the printer tonight.
Okay, wow.
And it will be done maybe Monday. Unfortunately, I will not see you to be able to give you a check until Wednesday. So we probably won't get it till Saturday or whatever.
So it is.
Start sending it out.
It is. Well, it is. There would be volume 120, right?
121. Number 121.
Oh, wasn't the last one 119 though? Hold on.
Excuse me.
The last one is 119.
I don't even know what the hell it is. 120.
120. This is 119.
Yeah.
So,
I'm ahead of myself.
Volume 120. Wow, 120.
I'm already working on 121. That's why.
Oh, you have material for 121?
Of course.
For the net? Really? You're that far ahead?
Of course.
Well, I know you read me the
God Project.
The God Project. Wednesday. You read me the God Project, and the main topic that's left to talk about concerning the Bible is all the misinformation by the zealots, by the right-wing fundamentalist zealots, who are rewriting the Bible to try to educate people not to believe these right-wing fundamentalist zealots and evangelists that are misinterpreting the Bible.
But it's very difficult, isn't it?
Because they're brainwashed.
Because you have a friend who claims that he understands the Bible and studied it for 30 years and etc. and is still deceived.
Well, he's still...
As far as fundamentals are concerned.
He insists that the body has an immortal soul that flies out when you die. And he does not believe anything concerning Herbert W. Armstrong and what he taught. And they believe in the rapture.
Well, he didn't teach anything that was not in the Bible.
And they believe that if you do not go out, if you're saved and you do not go out and help other Christians and save other people and minister, God will not say a thank you, faithful servant, and he will not put you in the better, more exclusive neighborhood in heaven. You won't get the rewards. He says the Bible mentions rewards.
Of course, in Revelation 22, whilst these people are in the better neighborhood in heaven, God is going to be down here on earth. So, gee, they're going to be lonely up there, huh?
Yeah, well, they're going to be getting their special rewards in heaven, but everybody will be down here, right?
Yeah, because God is bringing his throne down here, and the earth will be the headquarters of the universe. So all these people in heaven, what are they going to do up there? In their good neighborhoods.
Play backgammon and chess and canasta, or I don't know. What are they going to do?
Well, I don't know either. That's what I'm saying. Because going to heaven is not in the Bible.
Play harps.
It says it specifically. No one has gone to heaven except he who came down from heaven. I believe that's John 3:13. I'm not sure.
Well, they seem to be fixated with...
But fixated, that's not the issue. The issue is that Scripture is plain and simple.
Yeah. What I'm saying, they seem to be, the evangelicals, they seem to be fixated with the sky, with another place besides Earth, up in the stratosphere somewhere.
But this comes from paganism. It does not come from the Bible.
Well, what makes pastors, who are supposed to know better, what makes pastors teach...
They're deceived.
Teach their parishioners. Okay.
They're deceived. Very simple.
All right. We have one last article.
One last.
What's this one?
Let's discuss one way the Republicans in Congress have been stifling job growth in America and driving American taxpayers over a cliff.
But they always blame the Democrats, don't they? They blame the Democrats for doing that.
The construction industry as a whole has approximately 2 million unemployed and an unemployment rate of about 20%.
Yeah, higher than the numbers you hear on the news.
Highway transit work. A large part of the construction industry is funded mainly by the federal government through the United States Highway Trust Fund. The work includes the rebuilding and maintenance of roadways, bridges, and rail systems to relieve congestion and improve safety for the public. The funds for this work are usually approved by Congress for approximately 4-year intervals, as it was during President Bush's second term, when funds were approved from August 10, 2005 to September 30, 2009. From October 1, 2009 to June 30, 2012 of President Obama's administration, congressional Republicans have limited the federal funding interval 9 times, from as little as 26 days to 9 months. These unpredictable and short funding intervals and unknown funding amounts are the Republican tactic of stall and delay to artificially create job losses. Departments of transportation in all states cannot predict proposed funding for projects and cannot predict time frames for construction, especially multi-year projects. Businesses cannot retain workers, pay for equipment, and exist without a reasonable prediction of anticipated work and income. The Republican tactic forces engineering and design companies, contractors, subcontractors, equipment suppliers, and material suppliers, including many small businesses, to lay off hundreds of thousands of workers connected to the highway transit industry. These hundreds of thousands of artificial job losses are feathers in the caps of Republicans trying to stifle job growth, slow the country's economic recovery, and make it appear Obama is not creating jobs.
Deliberate sabotage. To make Obama a one-term president. Deliberate sabotage. So the Republicans
Could we call them traitors? Because they are out to destroy the country.
Well, their objective, obviously, is not to do the best interests of the people of the United States of America or the country, or to protect it, or to create jobs in the U.S. like they claim. Their objective is to sabotage a Democratic president, African American, Barack Obama. You know, I mean, being that Republicans are very bigoted and racist and homophobic,
and they still have.
They don't like women, huh?
They still have their supporters.
They want to make Obama a one-term president so they can eventually get total control of Washington, and then they could start implementing. They could start moving,
making it small enough to drown in a bathtub.
But I also believe they want to move the United States closer to a corporate plutocracy, oligarch, and bring back slavery, slave labor, and do away with welfare so they can starve off the poor.
Cull the herd.
Cull the herd.
They're eating and drinking our resources.
See, everything on the earth that's of value seems to belong to the 1%, the elitists, because they say so. Because they think they're better than you, because they're rich.
Remember, the king once owned all the forest.
Oh, you cannot hunt in the king's forest because the deer and the animals that you hunted belong to the king. Why? Because the king had the power to say so.
Yeah.
Had the money. So human worth in capitalism seems to be based on economic worth. You know, economic material possession seems to define the worth, the net worth of a human being in a capitalist society.
Well, as I keep saying, capitalism is unfair simply because he who has the capital is unfairly treated. Everything goes his way. It's like a Monopoly game, and we got 4 people playing, and we start out giving one guy 3 times as much money as the other 3.
Right.
Well, what the hell's going to happen then? Who's going to win that game?
It's like a 3-card Monte. The house wins.
The house. The guy, yeah, with the more money.
The guy with the most money.
That's capitalism.
I mean, they call people Marxists, but Karl Marx wasn't bad. Karl Marx did not support a political party. He just simply brought out the flaws of capitalism.
Well, we were speaking.
Criticized capitalism.
We were speaking of France before. France now has a socialist El Presidente, and socialists now run the I guess they have a parliament type system over there, whatever it is. So they have, the government is now controlled by socialists.
Well, I guess, I suppose...
what happened in Greece?
I suppose American-style capitalism did not work in France.
They don't have American-style capitalism in France, number one.
No, the last country of the world that would have American-style anything.
Why do you think Americans, the Republicans, wanted to do away with French fries and call them something else fries?
Fried
when
potatoes.
The French actually had the nerve, the guts to stand up and say, "What the hell are you doing making war on Iraq?"
They didn't allow U.S. military planes to fly over French airspace, and people, the U.S. media demonized France for saying that. But maybe the French had their reasons. Maybe the French were right.
They were right
by not allowing that. Now, what's going on in Greece? Greece is in bad shape, huh?
Yes, Greece voted to pay the bankers.
Interesting. Do you think
And the way they'd be able to pay the bankers, of course, is to steal the money from the middle class and down below.
Gee, what else is new?
Austerity.
That's what's going on in the United States. You know, so you think voter fraud, like when G.W. Bush ran against Al Gore, do you think there's a little voter fraud that went on in Greece for the wrong people to win?
Who knows? But the fact of the matter is the people voted against their own best interests.
Yeah.
That's for certain.
Yeah, I was discussing this very
Because
matter.
they should have told the banks to shove it.
Yeah, I was discussing this very matter with a good friend, her and her husband from the United Kingdom. They run their own website and publication, I think a newsletter. Dawn Lester, I found them from the Gary Nope page, and she was, I mean, there are people in England, and I mean, of course, international news medias will tell you a lot more truth than the American news media. But she said, Dawn Lester said, unfortunately, even the BBC sold out to the fat cats, to the elitists, and they're not the way they used to be any longer. And she was very upset about the amount of taxpayers' money that was spent on the Queen of England's Diamond Jubilee anniversary. Tons of taxpayers' money was spent. Not her money, not the royal family's money, but taxpayers' money of Great Britain was spent on this, and I don't know. Isn't that what greedy capitalists like to do? Is spend somebody else's money that is not part of their elite group? Let the poor suckers pay for everything?
Of course, isn't that what the big baseball, football teams do to states and whatever? They make them pay for big stadiums.
Oh, like when George Steinbrenner threatened the mayor of New York at that time that if the city does not pay for the remodeling or rebuilding of Yankee Stadium, that he threatened to move the team out of New York.
Yeah.
Because the rich do not want to pay for anything themselves.
No, Dr. Richard Wolff today was discussing this fact. He was discussing about getting the tax money from the rich, because the new tactic from the right, the conservatives, is, well, if you tax them, you're not going to get enough money to do anything. Oh yeah, we will. Oh yeah, we will.
Of course you will. Of course you will. If you bring back the original old-fashioned tax rate on the rich, you will.
Just taxing them 10%, we will.
Yeah, and tariff those outsourced products coming back into the United States, and trim the fat off the military budget, and end all subsidies and Wall Street bailouts. Welfare for the rich. End it. End it. If you go belly up, well, that's the capitalist.
That's the capitalist system.
That's the capitalist system. Go belly up.
Of course.
So if the credit unions and the credit union banks and the small savings and loans are the only banks left, well, let it be.
Let it be.
Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Hear the words of, how does it go? Hear the words of wisdom?
Something words of
Something,
wisdom.
something words of wisdom. Let it be, let it be. Yeah, I mean, that's the way the crab cake crumbles. Let them go belly up. You know, it just amazes me, the double standard and hypocrisy. Oh, thank you for joining us for this week's Progressive Discussions. It's been lovely. You know, it amazes me, Dr. Bill, how all the double standards and hypocrisy going on, where if the people who really need the financial aid and the welfare, the little guy, it's horrible. They don't want to help the poor, but damn it,
they don't want to help the poor.
But the
and
rich
they don't want to get jobs to help the poor become unpoor either.
No, there's no. Yeah, no. They call them lazy louts. Go out and find a job. Why don't you go get a job? Meanwhile,
nobody calls the rich lazy louts who sit home like Mr. Romney.
Right.
And his money makes money on top of money.
Right. And there's
How come the rich are never louts for sitting around doing nothing?
Yeah. No, they sit around doing nothing. Their money's making money for them, but the poor are lazy.
Yeah.
And if you collect welfare, oh, you're terrible. Well, and they say go get a job. Meanwhile, there's no jobs in the United States. And welfare for the poor is bad, but welfare for the rich is good. You figure it out. Very frustrating. Say goodbye to these folks.
Goodbye, frustrating folks.